So if you're thinking about leaving the job, or maybe you already have, and you sat there wondering, what now? What can I do? What jobs can I apply for? Believe me, I know exactly how you feel. Since I left policing in 2015, I've helped hundreds of cops and staff and other emergency services just like you find new careers. It doesn't matter whether you've left through choice, through retirement, through ill health, or through the gross misconduct process. It is a huge shift and it really impacts you. This video is everything I wish I had when I left the job in 2015. There is no sales pitch. I'm not selling anything. There's no courses. There's no webinars. There's no 30-day challenge. It is just all the information for free, all the stuff that I didn't have, I want to give to you so you can make that move successfully. We'll talk about the type of roles that you can do, your transferable skills, those soft skills and the top 10 soft skills of 2025 and beyond. We'll also talk about how to write a CV when leaving the police. We'll look at LinkedIn and how to use it effectively. I'll talk you through the interview process. We'll talk about the type of jobs that you can do, the sectors you can work in. We'll also talk about how to make that move, how to use ChatGPT really effectively, but make sure that you don't get caught out by it. If you've ever thought, I've no idea what to do next, that's why I'm here. And I promise I will help you. So I just want to briefly give you an introduction to who I am and why I can help. So I did my full 30 years. I started off in London in the 80s. And I was really fortunate. I had an amazing career and followed the usual career path and response and CID for a little while. Then I joined TSG and had an amazing time there as well. Then I moved out to my local force, which was Northamptonshire. And I had a great time there. I started off on response and became a dog handler. And then while I was on the dog section, I'd been divorced a few years earlier with a young daughter. And my ex-wife phoned me up and said that we need to talk. So I went to meet her. I was on duty at the time. And she told me that she was moving to Australia. So she had remarried. She was working for an Aussie firm. And that they wanted to take my daughter with them. And initially, I thought that I would fight it, and I did, and I spoke to a solicitor. But the solicitor actually told me that, I need to let her grow, and that there was a possibility of her staying, but that the best opportunity was potentially for her to go. And so I walked into Northampton town and thought Northampton or Sydney, and I knew at that point that I had to let her go. And it was a really difficult decision, and as you see, it still chokes me up now. But that was the first time that I considered leaving the job, and really the only time. But I had no transferable skills. I joined at the age of 18. I knew nothing else. I was an ex-cadet, and so I just had to knuckle down and just crack on. And so I stayed on the dog section, and I got promoted. I became a response sergeant, neighbourhood policing sergeant, and firearms sergeant. And again, had an amazing career. Last 4 years of my service, I was in charge of F1 pits and paddock at Silverstone and just had an incredible time. But as it came up towards the end of my service, I started to lose my hair and I actually had alopecia. And I think it was all the stress that had built up over the years and just really not knowing what else I could do. And so it came to April 2015, and that was my time to leave the job. And initially it felt like a holiday. It felt incredible. But once that period was over, I remember phoning my wife saying that I had no idea what it was that I was going to do. I was completely lost. I'd lost my identity and I just didn't know what I was going to do next. So I learned how to windsurf, and that sort of took a bit of time out, just detox, de-police, and just really try and sort of find myself again, which I know sounds a bit woo, but I needed that period of time to detox. And it's really important that you do the same. Whatever level of service you're in, it's really important that you do the same and you take a bit of time out just to de-police, detox a little bit, get back into normal sleep routines and that type of thing, and just get back to who you really are. I then got a job at Network Rail as a project manager. And from there, I moved on to different roles within Network Rail, but I then left. I started contracting. And then I moved into IT. And I came back and worked as a consultant for a big Microsoft 365 rollout. And that was through COVID. I then moved to ASOS as lead for their platform lead for modern workplace technology. I've since worked with numerous different consultancies. I've done Oracle rollouts. I'm now doing Microsoft Copilot. And let me reassure you, I am nothing special. I am thick as mince. I left school with four O levels and 4 U's. And it's only since I've left policing that I've now found I got a degree in my 50s and took numerous different courses. But it's really important that you invest in yourself and that you actually consider spending some money to get the right courses or to put yourself in the right position to get that next job. And that's what I've done all the way through. And I've helped hundreds of cops do the same thing. In 2017, I was approached by a couple of mates who needed some support and guidance about how to make that move and how to do that transition. And so I helped them. They were successful. They put some other mates in touch. And this just grew and grew. And I was still working full-time. I still work full-time now. But since 2017, I've been helping and supporting cops and staff and other emergency services move into new roles and new careers. In 2018, I set up Blue Light Levers. And the website is bluelightlevers.com. And everything you need is there. Everything for free. And there's a podcast of the same name as well. I'll go into more details a bit later on in the presentation. But I give you everything that I didn't have. So you've got to expect that when you leave, whatever your length of service, when you leave, you're going to feel really disorientated. You're going to feel really confused. You just don't know who you are. You lose your identity. You lose that sort of sense of purpose. So it's really important that you appreciate that you are going to go through that stage. So the big 3 questions I get asked are, what jobs can I do when I leave the police? What are my transferable skills and how do I evidence them? And how do I write a CV? And we'll be covering all of those and more throughout this session. Now, the first thing I want you to do is grab a pen and paper or open the Notes app on your phone and start making some notes, because we've got a little exercise that I want you to do. So I want you to have a think about, what is it that you love about the job? Why did you join? Is it part of being a team? Is it the variety of incidents? Is it that sense of purpose and that sense of fulfillment, doing something for the greater good? Is it crisis management? Is it leadership? Is it problem solving? Is it investigating? Is it coaching and mentoring and being a tutor? Is it taking ownership of issues or managing others? What I want you to do now is think about the best role that you've ever had. What was it about that role that you loved the most? Again, was it the team that you were working with? Was it that strategic oversight? Was it that management of others? Was it that it gave you some status or some identity? Is it the variety of incidents, that problem solving, that leadership? What is it about that best role, the best role that you ever had that you loved, that really fired you up and made you want to get up in the morning? Now, what I want you to do now is identify your strengths. I want you to think about and write down the stuff that you know you're really good at. What's the stuff that you're recognized for? What do people ask your advice and guidance about? Are you people orientated? Are you task motivated? Are you deeply analytical? These are all the sort of things that you really need to identify, because if you can find something that's going to fire you up and the type of role that you're going to move into that ticks those boxes for you, it's going to make a massive difference. You also need to think about your core values. What is it that really resonates with you? What are those core values? Is it sustainability? Is it climate change? Are you eco-friendly? These type of things. And if you can find a company that aligns with what it is that you're looking to do, it makes a massive difference. Because when you lose that identity, when you move away from policing, there are very few roles that replicate what we had. And so what you're looking for is something, an organization or a role that's going to fire you up, that's going to give you that sense of purpose. And that way, you're going to really enjoy whatever it is that you do next. So the next thing I want you to do is to write down the stuff that you don't want to see again. It's no more. So it could be no more shift work. It could be no more working weekends. It could be no more dealing with some of the misogyny and nepotism that we know takes place. What is it that you never want to see again? What are the reasons for moving away from it? Because it's really important that you identify those points as well. Is it the lack of progression? I hear this so often. Is it because you're going through the misconduct process and you can just completely disillusioned with how you've been treated? What is it that you never want to see again? Because it's really important to identify the stuff that you're really good at, the stuff that you love doing, why that's the case, your strengths and why you are so good at what you do. But it's also really important to identify the stuff that you never want to see again. Now, what I want you to do is to look back at your achievements. And we always find this really, really difficult because we're not good at bigging ourselves up. What I need you to do is look back over your career and think about a few jobs that you're really proud of. And it might not necessarily be anything that you have been formally recognized for, but it's the stuff where you've made a difference. And I want you to write a few of those jobs down, just maybe 2 or 3, because these will feed into your examples when it comes to your application and when it comes to your interview. So really think deeply when you look back over your career, what is it that you're most proud of? Was it the way that you dealt with a particular victim or an investigation that you were part of? Were you guiding, mentoring, coaching, tutoring? Was that something you were really proud of? Was it a particular piece of bravery or where you took outstanding action? And it could be something that you've been formally recognized for. But we all have those jobs, we all have those things that we've dealt with that really mean something to us. And stuff that you might not necessarily get recognized for. But it's really important to call those out, to write them down, because they're going to be your evidence. That's going to be the stuff that's going to make the difference when it comes to interview and when it comes to your application. And if you've got any statistics to back up or any data to back up what you've done and where you've made a difference, that really, really helps. I'm just going to read an example. So using crime statistics to spot areas needing targeted policing, which led to a 50% drop in antisocial behaviour incidents in these locations over a year and improved community trust and engagement feedback by 20%. If you've got any sort of stats and feedback, look through your last PDRs, look through your performance reviews and grab some of that information. If any of you have been through promotion process, you'll have loads of this type of stuff. And again, it's really important to get this information, get it written down and have it there in a Word document or a Google Doc and have it there so you've got it just to fall back on. People really believe statistics. So if you have reduced X by Y by doing Z, that is fantastic. In summary, your action plan. You need to identify your strengths and exactly what it is you want from the next role. You need to know what you don't want. And you need to identify 4 to 6 achievements that you're comfortable talking about. And if you've got any stats to back those up, that makes a massive difference. Let people know that you're starting to look and that you're actually interested in moving on. You can do it really subtly. You don't have to make a big announcement on LinkedIn. But just let people know. And if you've got any colleagues that have moved on and are doing new roles, or people that you know, or friends and family that you know that are working in particular organizations, just ask them. Just say, look, this is my background. You know what I do for a living. What type of roles do you think I might be a good fit for? And you don't need to take the path of least resistance. It might be blatantly obvious. You think, well, all I've ever done is I've investigated this. I'm a PIP 2 investigator and this is all I can do. There is so much more that you can do. So when you're doing your job searches, think about using some of those keywords. Is it safeguarding? Is it investigations? Is it risk management? Is it organizational, operational support? Look at those soft skills in the job description. You'll see that you tick so many of those. And I'll go through these in a bit more detail later on. And we also have a free download that you can get from the website as well. I'll give you some more information about that in a second as well. And start applying for roles at least 2 to 3 months before you're looking to leave. So you can do your prep, you can speak to people, you can identify what it is that you're really good at and the stuff that you never want to see again. Have a really deep think about the type of roles that you really enjoy doing or the organizations that you really want to work for. And give yourself 2 to 3 months at least before you start applying. Now, I know there's a load to take in. I know I'm giving you a lot of information, but that's the reason why I put together a load of free guides. Everything you can get from the website is free. It includes guides around ill health and misconduct. There are transferable skills, your top 25 transferable skills. How to write a CV when leaving the police. All the information you need is free and on the Blue Light Levers website. Just go to bluelightlevers.com, grab as much information as you can, and just digest it, look through it, read it, and act on it. We'll also put the link in the video description below. So we've also got nearly 100 free podcast episodes for you to listen to. And these are interviews with people who are really senior within organizations that are looking for people with our skill set. And there's loads of interviews with cops that have moved on and been exactly where you are. And they talk through how they went about doing it, why they left, the interviews, how life has changed for them. They're all completely free and they're all available through Apple, Google, Audible, Amazon, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. And just listen to those. They will help to give you the belief that you can do it. So what about sectors? What sectors can you move into? Well, what about things like program management, project management, organizational change, coaching and mentoring, consultancy? We've had so much success through people joining consultancies. Investigative roles, fraud investigations, insurance investigations, finance, regulatory bodies, civil servant jobs, the NCA, the border force, charity and safeguarding, further and higher education, academic research, non-executive directors, the transport sector, government bodies working in local and national government, the security industry, risk management, retail, hospitality, driving instructors, chauffeurs, cybersecurity and tech roles. That's what I've moved into. Sport franchises. So what I'm going to talk about now is our skill set and our soft skills and our transferable skills. And I'm just going to read a quote to you. Success in getting, keeping, and advancing in a job depends 85% on people skills, or those soft skills, and only 15% on technical skills. That's fact. So what I want you to do now is have a think about what are our top 10 transferable skills. Just have a think about the sort of skill set that you've got, and then I'll call out what those might be. So these top 10 skills are based on LinkedIn, the World Economic Forum, and recruitment papers across the UK for 2025. Number one is relationship building and the importance of being able to develop rapport and work within a team. Number two is strategic thinking, that ability to be able to think creatively, to be analytical. Number three is communication skills. Do you think we've got those? You know, we're able to speak to anyone at any level. You've all got amazing experience in that. Number four is all about adaptability and resilience. And again, just think about how you work and the sort of things that you've dealt with. You have that in abundance. Number five is all about problem solving and innovation. You know, we do that day in, day out. Number six is teamwork and collaboration. Number seven is leadership and influence. And regardless of whatever rank you've held, we're still able to influence, we're still able to lead. Number eight is about emotional intelligence and empathy. Number nine is all about curiosity and continual learning. And that's exactly what I said right at the start. It's really important to invest in yourself and just be curious. And number 10 is about self-discipline and time management. Now think about those soft skills and think about how many of those you tick the boxes for. I guarantee you tick every single box for those top 10 sought after skills. Now I just want to talk about something called the transferable skills myth. Now you'll hear through people on LinkedIn and through some of your colleagues that there are organizations that are desperate for us and our transferable skills. And yes, we do have some incredible transferable skills. However, there's not a queue of employers looking to employ us just because of our transferable skills. You've got to have some evidence. You've got to have some experience, and you've got to be able to talk it through. You've got to be able to show them that you're a good fit for that particular role. So all this stuff about our transferable skills is a bit of a myth. You really need to have a bit of a reality check and know that employers are not looking to employ us just because of our transferable skills. You have to have a lot of other things in the background, and I'm just going to go through those now. So what are our transferable skills? It's our soft skills, plus our experience, plus our achievements, and those competencies, some of those hard skills. That's multiplied by relevant evidence and examples that you can talk through. That is what makes our transferable skills. So let's talk CVs. Really important part of the application process, and something where you need to put some time and effort into. And it is worth investing in yourself to get it written professionally. However, everything you need for free is on the Blue Light Leavers website. Download the guide. And episode 1 is also an interview with Charlotte Spencer, who is a professional CV writer of 20 plus years, one of the first in the UK, and in my view, the best. And we talk about how to write your CV when leaving the police. But I'm going to go through a few points now. And if you need a bit more information, you can just listen to that podcast episode or download the guide from the website. And there is no catch. Everything is free. I've got no courses, nothing to promote. I'm just giving you the information that I didn't have. So first versus third person. I would strongly recommend that you talk about yourself in the first person. I've seen many CVs where it's done in the third person. And when you say, Andy is really good at X, Y, Z, it just doesn't come over very well. It just feels a bit pompous. So always try and write your CV in the first person. Structure and format. You obviously want your name, your contact number, an email address at the top. You don't need to give any further information. Maybe the town in which you live or the county, but nothing more. You don't need to put your national insurance number or your address. What you then want is a really punchy profile, a really punchy introduction, and I'll go through that in a minute. The next stage would be your achievements, your key skills and achievements, the things that help you stand out, but also that match the application and the job that you're applying for. After that, you need chronological order in most recent and then going backwards in terms of the type of roles that you've held. But you don't want any more than 3 to 5 bullet points. So you just need an introduction, the type of role and who it was for, and then 3 to 5 bullet points about where you made a difference. It needs to be achievement-led and not roles. If you just put down roles and responsibilities, you are far less likely to be successful when it comes through to getting through to interview. So it's really important that you make sure that your CV is achievement-led and not just about roles and responsibilities. So where have you made a difference? Again, using some of those stats. At the end of the CV, put something really interesting about you. And don't just put things like necessarily sort of reading books or something like that. Put something down there that helps you to stand out. So when they read through your CV, they can see where you've made a difference. They can see what makes you tick. And you never know, you might do something in your own time that really resonates with that employer. So keywords, algorithms, and applicant tracking system. So you need to make sure that your CV matches the role that you're applying for. So unfortunately, you can't use the same CV over and over again. You have to rewrite it, make sure that it fits. And I'll talk a bit later about how ChatGPT can help you with this. I just want to cover ageism as well. For those of you that may be coming up towards retirement and maybe in 40s and 50s or beyond, ageism is a thing. And whether it's conscious or unconscious, we do need to be mindful of it. So in terms of my career history, I don't show all the roles I've done. I've been out for 10 years. I don't show the roles that I've done over the last 40 years. I only go back 15 years or so. If the role that you're applying for is relevant, then absolutely put some of those former roles and career that you had. Make sure that's in your CV. But if it's not relevant, don't necessarily put it in. Things like O-levels versus GCSEs and things like that. If you've done O-levels, like me, it ages you. People will automatically know that you are of a certain age. And there is this thing where, a lot of employers will think that this is a retired cop. How motivated are they going to be? How fired up? Are they just ticking a box? Are they just ticking over? So you need to be really conscious of that as well. So you need to be enthusiastic. Just go back a few years. You don't need to put your date of birth down on your CV or anything like that at all. And also things like your exams. You don't necessarily, unless they're asking for it specifically, you don't have to put things like, English GCSE or Maths GCSE, unless they're asking specifically. But if you've got relevant qualifications, then absolutely put those down. And those relevant qualifications should also be within your CV. You've also got something called Easy Apply, and you'll see this on some of the job websites, and you'll also see it on LinkedIn. I would be really careful using Easy Apply. Basically what happens is you go straight through to an applicant tracking system, and ATS is there to really look at ways to kick you out rather than keep you in. So if you don't have enough of those keywords and you're not ticking enough boxes in terms of your experience and what it is that you're looking for, then applicant tracking system will kick you out before your CV is even seen by a member of the public or someone in HR. So just be really mindful that, as I said earlier, you have to redo your CV every time you do your application and make sure you're ticking enough of those words and those boxes. So there is a tool out there online that you can use called JobScan. I think it's jobscan.io. But what you can do, you can put your CV through it, and you could also put the job description through it, and it will give you a score basically on where you fit from an applicant tracking system perspective. So it'll help you to create that. Now, I want to talk about ChatGPT for a sec, because lots of people are using ChatGPT and other Claude and others for creating their CVs, which is great. It's a brilliant tool, and you absolutely should be using it. And a way that you can do it is you can put in your job description, and you can ask to write a CV based on that job description. It is a phenomenal tool, but everyone knows that people are using ChatGPT to create CVs to make sure that people are a really good fit for roles. So there's also stuff out there called ChatGPT Zero and other checkers as well that can check whether your CV has been created by ChatGPT or whether it's been done by AI. So you just got to be really conscious that it needs to be in your words, it needs to be creative, and it needs to be done by you, or get it done professionally and invest in yourself and get it done properly. Use ChatGPT, give it a go, put in the job description, put in a CV that you've written that you've just sort of hacked together, and ask it to create something for you, or ask it to identify the key skills that they're looking for. And all of these sort of things will help you to create that CV. But just be really mindful that there's going to be more and more out there where it will show that you are using AI, and they will automatically kick you out. If your CV has been created by AI alone, you're going to get booted. So just be very, very conscious of that. So what I want to do now is show you exactly what a professionally written CV looks like. And just so you can glance through and you can pick up key points from it, and you'll see that it's got the introduction, it's got that professional profile, it talks about key skills and achievements. It then goes through chronologically about your roles and responsibilities. More importantly, though, your key achievements, those 3 to 5 bullet points, those key achievements, some of the key qualifications that you've got that match the role that you're going for, and then something that's really noticeable about you that helps you stand out from the others, and those interests and that type of thing. One of the questions I get as well is about security clearance. Now, again, you've got to be really careful here. You're not allowed to publicly say what your security clearance is, but there are ways that you can cover it. So, for example, you could put within your CV, security cleared to the highest level, or something along those lines. So there's enough sort of relatively subtly there to be able to show that you've got good security clearance. What I'm going to do now is help you to write your opening statement, that initial professional profile. And I'm just going to read an example to you now. Creative, versatile, and driven. My career so far spans the music industry, policing, and becoming an expert in financial crime, investigations, and intelligence. This means I understand human behavior well, know how to capture people's attention, and dig deep to get to the root of issues. You then showcase your relevant skills and experience. Super organized, observant, and diligent. This is balanced with artistic flair, empathy, and a desire to make a positive difference, having developed core skills in managing operations, people, and projects. And the final part of your professional profile, that opening paragraph, is all about stating your goals. I'm now seeking a rewarding role with a thriving organization that improves lives, has ambitious plans for the future, and is the best in their field. And you can see that's a really punchy, and it grabs you. And it's a really good way to really make a difference. You've got 7 seconds to get that person's attention. On average, Someone from HR or a recruitment agency or a hiring manager will look at your CV for around 7 seconds before they make a decision as to whether you're good enough to go through to the next round. They won't read it all the way through. So that opening paragraph, that first page is so, so important. You need to make sure that you've got all the information that's relevant to that role and to grab their attention, and you've got 7 seconds to do it. What I'll also do is show you in the slide above me exactly what it looks like when that's all put together. What I want to do now is talk about LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn is a fantastic tool. If you're not on there, you really need to be on there. And you can do it, you can tie your profile down so far so that no one can really identify who you are, but you can use it to connect with other people, you can use it to network, you can use it to, LinkedIn is a fantastic job search tool. It's probably the best one out there. And you can use keywords, certain roles or responsibilities that you've had in the past and directions that you want to move in. And you can tie it down by location as well. But if you want to be more public and create a profile that is much more aligned with who you are and what it is that you're looking for, we also have an episode for that as well. So just scroll through the Blue Light Leavers podcast episodes, and there's an episode there that is all about how to set up your LinkedIn profile from scratch. But use it. Search as much as you want. You can link in with people from your organization. Use the search facility. It is an incredible tool, and it will really help you to take that next step. And it will at very least give you some ideas on the type of roles that you can do. And it's a really good way to connect with other people. Networking is a real dirty word within policing. But in business, everyone does it. And what's the worst thing that can happen? You can send someone a connection request and you can personalize that invite as well. So if you click on the 3 dots at the ellipses next to the name of the person that you're looking to connect with, and you can personalize your invite. And you just send them a little note and just say, I'm really keen to work within this organization. This is my background, and I thought it'd be great to connect. And maybe we could meet up and have a coffee, or if I can have 5 minutes of your time just to talk about the potential roles that might be open in the future. And the worst thing that happens is that they don't reply. That's as bad as it gets. So it's really worth making the effort, whether it's through an organization or whether it's people that you used to work with, friends and family. Get yourself on LinkedIn, start to make those connections. And then as you grow more confident, you can use a banner that shows that you're open to new roles, you're open to work and open to opportunities. And you can register your interest with companies that you might want to work for. There are loads of ways that you can use LinkedIn. But as I said, just be really mindful about how you apply for those roles. If you click on Easy Apply, then sometimes it will just throw you into the mix with lots and lots of others and you'll be part of an applicant tracking system. It is much, much better to apply direct through a website. So if you go to Hayes or you go to LinkedIn and you've got Easy Apply, just, if you can, identify the organization that it is that the opportunity is with and go direct to their website. You've got much more chance of being seen if you apply direct through the website rather than through LinkedIn or one of the quick, easy applies on the websites. Okay, let's talk about that first big interview that you've got coming up. So your application's gone through, you've smashed your CV, and you get that phone call to say, we want to take you through to interview. Now, the likelihood is there's going to be different processes that are involved in that. But there is a real key method in terms of making sure that you're fully prepared for that interview process. Now, the first thing that's likely to happen is you might have a quick phone call, and it could be with a hiring manager or recruiter. And it'll be a call just to have a chat, just to talk through some of your experience. It's really informal, but it'll be talking through some of your experience and why you might be a good fit for that role. And they may throw a competency-based question in there, but it's much more likely just to be a conversational chat at that point, just to make sure that you're worth putting through to that second round. Now, this sounds really weird, but it's worth, when you take that call, stand up, be a bit more energized, and actually sort of walk around the room as you're talking to them, because that energy comes over. So that first thing, pick up your phone, be confident, and sell yourself, but do it in a really nice, personable way. Smile when you're talking, all those sort of things will really help you make a difference, and walk around and have some energy as you're talking. When it comes to the interview itself, it's really important that you do the prep this way. the first thing you need to do is do your review, then your response, and then your research. And it's really important that you do it in that order. So that review part is all about the person spec, and identify those key skills. Print it out, get a highlighter, or make a note of those key skills that you read through as you go through that role description. What is it that they're looking for? What are those soft skills that they're really after? From those points, think about what type of questions might they ask me. And I promise you, they're going to come from the soft skills. They will only ask you questions about the soft skills. The next thing you want to do is think about your response. Again, it's a really key part. And the reason we went through your achievements earlier is to make sure that you've got those key responses, those examples that you can give. And you need to think of 4 to 6 examples of where you've really made a difference. Now, the reason I always say leave the research to the end is because research will take you down a rabbit hole. As soon as you start looking into one particular part of an organization, what their values and a mission statement and what's been in the news recently about them, it'll take you to another section and another part and another part. And you'll suddenly realize that you've got 24 hours before the interview and you've done nothing in terms of your response. But the first thing we always do is go to do some research, and you will just waste hours and hours doing that research. The only thing you need to do for research is just think about 1 or 2 key sentences that you can use at the end of an example. So when you're talking through your example and you give it in what I call Carl format, which I'll go into a bit later, but at the end of it, you can say, and I know this is really important to you because this is actually one of your core values. And what that does is that shows that you've done your research, but it is literally a throwaway comment. You don't need to go into a huge amount of detail, but you will be expected to have done some work and to have done some research. So do it, but do it after you've done your review and do it after you've done your responses. Otherwise, you're going to tie yourself in knots. So how do you structure your responses? Well, we'll all have heard of STAR, situation, task, action, result, which is a brilliant and really well-known format for answering competency-based questions. Now, when we talk about context, action, result, lessons learned, I want you to think of the L in 3 ways. It's context, action, result, lessons learned, legacy, or link. So when you talk about the lessons learned, you can actually say, and actually, if that situation arose again, I would probably approach it in a slightly different way and I would do X instead of Y. Or had I done such and such earlier, then this would have happened quicker. And that shows that you've got the ability to reflect, and that is so important. That's what employers are looking for. They want to know when things go well, but also when things go badly, that you've got the ability to look back, to think, actually, yeah, that did go okay, but actually maybe next time I'll do such and such. And the way that you can verbalize that, it also shows that emotional intelligence that is really, one of those key skills that we touched on earlier. The legacy side of things is where you've really made a difference. So if you worked in a particular department and there was a way of working that was particularly inefficient, or that you've changed a process, or you've been part of a transformation program, whatever it might be, it's where you've left a legacy and where you've worked in a particular team, or there was a way of working that you've shifted and changed and that's still in place now. And that is really powerful. And if you can say that you worked in a particular team and then as a result of moving on, but they kept that way of working, that is really, really powerful. And then the L is for link, which I sort of covered within the research. You link it back to why it's important to that organization. So you give your context, you talk about what it is, the situation that you were involved in, you talk about the action that you took. And it's really important that you talk about yourself in the first person again, and that you don't talk about we or the team. I did this, I did that. It's so, so important. And then you either give it the action you took, the result, and you say what happened as a result of the action that you took, and then you put it into lessons learned, legacy, or link. And I promise you, we've had so much success through this. And episode 42 of the podcast is actually the most popular download. And that's all about how to really stand out in an interview. So I'm whizzing through it here. If you want it in a bit more detail, go to Google, to Apple, to Stitcher, wherever it is you get your podcast from, all for free. Episode 42 is how to really stand out in an interview. So there are a number of different question styles. We've got our competency-based, we've got conversational, we've got situational, we've got forward-facing, and we've got strength-based. Conversational questions are exactly that, but you've got to be really careful not to get drawn in. It's literally a chat. And what I've found, bizarrely actually, the more senior roles that I've gone for, or the consultancy roles, tend to be much more conversational than actually formal competency-based. Whereas if you go to civil service jobs or many public sector organisations, they're very structured and rigid in their format of asking you questions. So when it comes to conversation, they will literally just chat through your experience, or they might just chat through your CV. But you've got to be really careful not to let your guard down and it becomes too informal. So just be mindful you're still being interviewed. It's still a formal process, but it's a conversation rather than a formal structured process. Situational is actually something where they might put a scenario in front of you, or they may even give you a bit of a paper feed, and that's that situational question. Something that's a really good way to answer this, a method that we all know really, really well about answering situational questions, is to use the national decision-making model and just talk through the circle. Talk about that information intelligence. Talk about the threat and risk. Talk about your powers and policies and those core values in the center as well, and the action that's going to be taken. And think about spinning that wheel. Because everything that you get within a situational question, you know how to answer it by using the NDM. It works brilliantly for situational questions. Your competency-based questions are the ones that are much more formal, much more structured. Can you give us an example of when you've done X? They're the sort of competency-based questions that you're much more likely to get within public sector, within civil service jobs. And they are the ones that tend to throw us a little bit. But they're the ones why it's really important that you've done your prep, that you've got your responses sorted, and you're thinking about your examples, because they're going to be based around some of those key soft skills. And it's really important that you've got those examples ready, because that is how the question starts. Can you give us an example of when you've done such and such, or when you've dealt with this? What they'll then do is they'll go into more detail. They'll then do the 5WH. So they'll talk about the who, when, how, why, what, all of that sort of stuff. I'll go through that in a second. But they'll ask the question and then they'll deep dive. And that's how to deal with competency-based questions. Strength-based questions are much more about your strengths, obviously, what makes you tick. And what they're looking for with strength-based questions is really deep diving into the type of person that you are and how you're going to be a really good fit for that role and for that organization. So it'll be about cultural fit and those type of things. So again, that's why we go through the exercise of identifying the stuff that you're really strong at, those strength-based questions. You've also got forward-facing questions, and these are actually something that's used a lot within policing, within the promotion process. But it's really important that you think about these from an interview perspective outside of policing as well. So forward-facing questions are when they will give you an example and ask you how you would deal with it. So it's a little bit of a link between a competency-based, between a situational. But what they want to do is they may know that you've never dealt with that situation before. But they'll ask you a question where they're really keen to try and find out what makes you tick, your thought processes behind your decision-making. And that's that forward-facing. And we're seeing more of that happening now. So the structure of the interview itself, generally speaking, this isn't every time, but generally speaking, it'll be in three ways. So you'll have the warm-up questions, the quite simple questions. I'll go through some more examples of those in a second. You'll then get the questions that you're going to get asked, whether it's competency-based or whatever it might be. And the final section is where you ask them some questions. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples of the type of questions that you want to be asking at the end of your interview. So those warm-up questions, I want you to use a format called FORM, F-O-R-M. What I want you to do is talk about family, occupation, recreation, and message. And just keep it really, really brief. Because normally what happens is when someone asks those opening questions and just tell us a little bit about yourself or something along those lines, the first thing we do is talk about the job or talk about a job or our career or whatever it might be. So it's really nice to actually talk about a little bit about what's personal to you and who you're close to. And so talk about family, friends, whatever it might be. But that F is family, friends. Open up with that. Then talk about your occupation and try and make it relevant to whatever role it is you're going for. recreation, what you like to do in your spare time. And then the M is the message. And what I mean by message is you can tell them why you've applied for that role. And actually, I'm really interested and really excited about applying for this particular organization. You know, if someone I've been following for a while, I love the type of work that you do. I think the core values that you have are really important. They resonate with me as an individual as well. And I thought this is a fantastic role and an amazing opportunity. And that's that message. So form, family, occupation, recreation, message. It's a really nice way to remember how to just start that warm up and you'll be ready for it. The next stage will be something called motivational fit. So it'll be, why are you looking to apply for this role? How do you think your skills and experience fit this role? What would you enjoy most about this role? What do you think some of those key challenges might be? It's all about why you're applying for that role within that particular organization, and they're called motivational fit questions. Again, if you listen to the podcast episode, I'll go into more detail about this. So now I'm going to give you some examples of competency-based questions. So I'm just going to read a couple out. So this particular question relates to communicating with and understanding others. So can you give me an example of how you've managed to align organizational goals with stakeholder expectations? And then they'll 5WH it. Can you give me an example of how you've successfully communicated with a challenging audience? And again, they'll then 5WH it. So they'll ask you, okay, well, what were the challenges? How did you overcome those? What was the reaction? And they'll deep dive into your response just to get a little bit more information. And don't be thrown by that. It doesn't mean that you're not answering correctly. They're just trying to draw more information out. And what you'll find is interviews outside of policing are much more friendly. They are less intimidating and they're not looking to catch you out. They actually want to give you the opportunity to answer those questions correctly. So by doing the correct prep and making sure you're in the right mindset, you're going to be in a really good place and get those examples ready. The stuff, it's all about achievements and stats. If you can smash them in the face with all the really good stuff that you've done, that's what's going to make the difference. Just going to give you another couple of examples as well. So this next one is all about problem solving and decision making. So tell us about a time when you've needed to carry out a thorough piece of analysis. Or tell us about a time where you've needed to make an important decision or recommendation. And this one is all about resilience and working under pressure. So tell us about a time when you've needed to work under significant pressure. Or this one is actually becoming more and more popular. I'm hearing about this a lot. Tell us about a time when you faced a significant setback at work. And then they'll 5WH it. Why was that the case? How did you react? How did you pull yourself out? How did you get yourself back up and bounce back? So really important that you have these sort of examples ready. So what I'm going to do now is give you a couple of examples of the questions that you should be asking at the end of your interview. And the first one is, what do you enjoy about working here and what are the challenges? And it's fairly simple, fairly straightforward, but it gives you an idea on the type of culture and the sort of things that they've got coming up. You can ask about the pipeline of work and those type of things, and it just leads to other questions. The next one I want you to ask relates to your 3 to 6 month goals. So if you ask them and you say, you can use a bit of NLP here as well, so neuro-linguistic programming as well. It works really, really well. So if you sort of smile and nod as you say this, you say, if I am successful and you think I'm a good fit for this role, what does good look like? What do you expect me to have achieved within that first 3 to 6 months? What will my goals be? And I promise you, every time people have asked that question, the responses are fantastic. And it puts them on the back foot a little bit and it makes them think about what it is that they're really looking for from you. And I pretty much guarantee that no one else will ask that question. So just ask them about those goals, what good looks like. And I promise it will make a massive difference. They'll remember you for asking those type of questions. So it's really important when it comes to the interview itself, you do the basics right. So plan your journey. Make sure you know where you're going. Think about parking. It's not like policing. You can take a notebook in with you. So if you've got that there, just have a notebook and just within the little notebook there, just have a few little reminders of the type of questions, the type of answers that you want to give. And just have that ready within your notebook as well. Be on time, be smart, be punctual, be really upbeat and positive. And even if you've had a really difficult time in the job, don't at any point talk negatively about it. You need to be really upbeat and really positive throughout. So post-interview, send them an email within 24 hours, just thanking them for the opportunity of the interview, and just keep it really simple, really easy. Just saying thanks ever so much for the opportunity of the interview. It was really good to meet you both. I look forward to hearing from you in due course, and leave it at that. And that can be through the hiring manager, through the recruiter, and ask them to forward it on. But if you've got the details, you should have the details, particularly those that are done through Teams or Zoom interviews rather than in person. But you should have the details available to you of who's invited you for that invite. So send them a little note just to thank them for the opportunity, because again, it's all about standing out and showing your values. Have a plan B and a plan C. Don't keep all your eggs in one basket. So when it comes to interview, make sure that you've got the interview, but make sure you're applying for other roles as well. You don't want this to be the one and only. So make sure that you're applying for other roles and keep applying. Until you sign that contract, anything can happen. So it's really important that you have a plan B and a plan C and keep applying for roles. If you haven't heard anything within the time scale that they've said, so let's say they'll tell you within 24 hours or they'll tell you by the end of the week, you are perfectly within your rights to get in contact and say, just following up on the interview that I had on such and such a date and time, and it was really good to meet you both. I'm just wondering if you have got some feedback for me or to let me know whether I've been successful. And you are well within your rights to be able to do that. So don't be afraid to chase up. Don't let it hang and go on forever just because you're not hearing of anything. It's really important that you follow up and chase up. What I'm going to cover now is ChatGPT and how it can really help you for interview prep. And again, I'm going to read exact prompts that I want you to use. So when it comes to ChatGPT and interview prep, I want you to put in, I've been invited to interview for the following role. I'm going to share the job description with you. I want you to review the job description and create the 6 most likely competency-based questions. You must use UK English spelling throughout. Do not make any assumptions. Stick to the facts. Do you understand what I want here? I'm now going to share my CV with you. I want you to review my CV and tell me which evidence from my CV best matches each of the questions you've created. Do not make any assumptions. Stick to the facts. Use only my CV for evidence. Do you understand? So what you'll get there, you'll get the 6 most likely questions that you're going to get asked in a competency-based format. And it will then match your CV and the examples that you've put within your CV to those questions. The third thing to ask it is, what have I not considered? And it will then come up with a number of different points that you should think of for that interview process. So again, make sure that you go through this in detail, take some notes. So jobs and where to find them. So I'm really excited to announce that Blue Light Levers is moving into a new direction as well. So Blue Light Levers is going to continue, the website's going to continue, and all the information there is completely free. But we're also creating Blue Light Workforce Solutions. So we're going to be matching organizations with people that have the amazing skill set that you've got, and the skills such as safeguarding and coaching and mentoring and operational managers and cybercrime and tech and project management and organizational change and all the amazing skills that you've got, investigations. And we're going to be matching organizations to your skill set. There'll be more on that in due course, but keep an eye out. It's bluelightworkforcesolutions.co.uk, and we're going to be launching soon. There are other organizations that you can look through as well. So there's a like of obviously Hayes, Indeed, Monster, CV Library, all the usual type of things. Reed. You've got Reed Secure, which is much more relevant to our type of roles. Security Cleared Jobs, we've got a fantastic relationship with them. Really well known, really good people. So there are a number of different organizations, a number of different jobs boards that you can go to that will help you to find the type of role that you've got the right experience for. But don't follow the path of least resistance. It's really important that you find something that is going to be motivating, that's going to make you feel that you are enjoying that type of role. It's going to make you feel fulfilled. It's going to give you that sense of purpose. And like I said before, whether it's the type of role or whether it's the organization, you'll get those through the organizations that I've given you. But also look broader. Think about the type of work that you would love to do, not just the stuff that you obviously can do. There are a number of different websites that can help you to upskill, to relearn. So things like Microsoft 365, Microsoft have got some fantastic tools there to help you to get a bit more competent. Short videos, how-tos, how-do-Is, that type of thing. So go to the Microsoft 365 website, and they will have lots of short videos and how-tos that will really help you just to pick up your skills when it comes to things like PowerPoint, Excel, and those type of things, which are all really sought after. BBC Bite Size is another really good place to go. You think of it more for kids, but actually it's brilliant for adult learning as well. They will also help you with CVs and career advice. I'm just going to reel off a number of others as well. LinkedIn Learning, really good, but again, you have to pay the full price for LinkedIn to get access to that. But if you sign up for 7 days, you can then cancel your membership, so you can access as many courses you want within that 7 days, and then cancel your membership and you won't have to pay ever again. So it's a really good way to get into LinkedIn. Grab the information that's relevant to the type of role that you want to do. So LinkedIn Learning, really, really good. You've also got things like Coursera, EDX, Allison. We've also got OpenLearn, which is Open University's version of all their free courses. So OpenLearn is really good as well. There are loads of ways that you can upskill, pick up new courses that are relevant for whatever role it is that you're looking for in the future. Owning your own business as well, you can do it as a sole trader or a limited company, and there are pros and cons to both. So what I suggest you do is ask ChatGPT or whatever AI, large language model you're using, and ask them the difference between owning my own business as a sole trader and a limited company. As a sole trader, you tend to be personally liable for any issues and debts and that type of thing. A limited company is not so. So it's worth looking at those different methods that you can use to become a business owner. If you're looking to open your own store or just a small side hustle, whatever it might be. But, ChatGPT is your friend. Ask for it to explain the differences in really simple terms, and it will do that for you. Contracting. So contracting is actually a really good way to earn quite a lot of money quickly. And it will give you a day rate, and you can do it in a couple of different formats. You can do it as a limited company, which is something called outside IR35, or you can do it inside IR35, and it's done under an umbrella or PAYE. So again, ChatGPT is your friend. Ask about the differences. But the contracting is a really good way to do short-term work of stuff that you're really good at and stuff that you really enjoy. And again, there are numerous different websites, police-related, that will help you with this. And as I said, keep an eye out for Blue Light Workforce Solutions as well, because this is a type of work that we're going to be putting your way. I just want to very quickly touch on franchising as well, because this is something that comes up regularly as well. And the difference between franchising and owning your own business. With a franchise, you own your own business, but it's part of a successful model already. So they tend to cost a little bit more, but it's not silly money. They can be anything from $3,000 upwards and sometimes less than that. But the benefits of a franchise is that you've got a proven model. You've got the learning material available to you, and you've got a specific point of contact who has a genuine interest in your success. So there are some pros to it. And actually and we've got a podcast episode all about franchising as well within the Blue Light Leavers podcast. So again, listen to that because you go into more detail. But there are real benefits to franchising as opposed to owning your own business. So it's worth looking into those, listening to that podcast episode, because it can be a really good way to own your own business, to work around hours that suit you, but also to have someone who has a vested interest in your success, have your back. And again, I just want to talk about mindset for a second. You get what you expect. That transition and that first move is the hardest. If you expect it to be tough and expect it to be really difficult, that's what's going to happen. So you need to think about it positively, and you need to know that you have to be resilient, and you have to be in a right mindset. You have to have that resilience and bounce back ability, because you are going to get some no's. I've had them. Everyone I've ever worked with has had some no's. But when you get that yes, and you sit in the interview, and at the end of it, they say, actually, yes, well done. You've done really well. I would love to bring you on board. It is the best feeling. And you're never going to get the same feeling necessarily that you got in the job. It is different. But the compromise is that you get your life back. You get your weekends back. You get that time for you. You don't have your weekends cancelled and, Christmas and those type of things where you have to work and you've got no say in it. I haven't had to apply for annual leave in 10 years. I just tell people when I'm going on holiday. There is a real difference. Does it feel the same as being a cop? No, of course not. It's very, very different. Do I get the same sense of fulfillment? No, not necessarily. But the quality of life, my sleep, your earning potential, far, far greater. So there are some compromises, but you need to be in the right mindset. You need to accept that you're going to get some no's before you get that yes. You may see things on paper that you think I'm an amazing fit for, and actually I'm going to breeze through this, and you might not even get through the application process. So you've just got to be resilient, be strong, keep plugging away. It is totally worth it, I promise. So where can I go for help and support? Well, you've obviously got the Blue Light Levers website, bluelightlevers.com. Everything for free. All the stuff that I didn't have is all there for you, all available, all for free. No catch, no courses, nothing at all. It's there for you if you need it. I want to give you everything that I didn't have. We've got a Facebook group as well called Blue Light Levers. We've got over 15,000 members in there. So go there. We advertise jobs daily within that as well, and different help, support and guidance through that as well. And you've got that community there as well of people who are looking, who are in the same position as you are, and who you can communicate with. And we've also got the podcast, as I've spoken. We've got 100 episodes, thereabouts, loads of different interviews, loads of different people that will really help you to put you in the right mindset to take that next step. And we've also got Blue Light Workforce Solutions, which is up and coming, so keep an eye out for that. That's it. That is everything you need to take that next step. Make sure that you go to the website. Make sure you go to Blue Light Workforce Solutions. Join the Facebook group. Download everything for free. It's all there for you. And I just want to thank you for your service. You know, I've been there. I know what you've been through. And every single one of you should be really, really proud of what you've done and what you've achieved in your service. Whether you're in your probation or whether you're 30, 35 years plus, you've all done some amazing work. And I promise you, you have made a difference. I know it. I've been there. Be brave. Be resilient. Do the right thing. Get the right information. Take that next step. And I wish you the best of luck.